All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Dominique Dines. I work with EdTech team and I live in Guadalajara, Mexico. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. All right. Today we're going to be talking about globally minded students. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and we're going to be talking about a few different aspects to trying to make our students more open-minded or globally minded. So talk about is global collaboration and just what does that mean? Please feel free to post any comments or questions in the Q&A. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking, but the first thing, as I said, is global collaboration. What does that mean, and how can we connect our classrooms with classrooms all over the world? So we're going to be looking at that today. We're also going to be looking at how to make the learning in our classrooms more authentic. And at times, we might need to forget the textbooks so that we can really dig into what our students are interested in and also making those connections around the world. Then the last thing we're going to be looking at today is passion and really getting to the heart of our students and what they love. And just we're going to see how that helps drive the learning in our classroom when we give our students an opportunity to learn about things that they're passionate about. So looking at those three areas, we're going to start today by talking about some real world problems. This is something, as a former middle school social studies teacher, I always love talking to my students and hearing what they think about the world around us. And if you talk to students, whatever age they may be, it's pretty easy to ask them, like what's wrong or what kind of problems do they see in their own world, and also talking about bigger or larger scale problems. And so some of the ones that sixth graders often came up with, and these are very common themes, is since I do live in Guadalajara, Mexico, my students are super concerned about the pollution. Okay, this is actually a photo from Mexico City, historically polluted city in Mexico, and according to the World Health Organization, 1.3 million people die every year in Mexico because of pollution. And that's a startling fact, and it really, really scares my students since we do live in Mexico. My students are hunger. Okay? 3.1 million children die every year due to hunger, and in most cases, in the schools I've taught at, we haven't had to deal with this personally, but it's definitely touched us, and something that my students have really wanted to combat or help try to fix that statistic a little bit so it's not so drastic there. Another issue close to my heart and to actually many of my students' heart, just a social justice issue of slavery. And my sixth graders discovered over the last few years, and this is super, super sad, but there's more slaves today than at any other point in history, which is rather startling. And so this photo is actually a photo from a freedom march that happened in Guadalajara a couple months back, of what's happening around the world and what's actually happening a lot in our city of Guadalajara, Mexico, and lots of other cities as well. Another thing my students have been super concerned about is just the fact that 1 in 8 people on the planet do not have clean water. And a lot of times we take that for advantage when we can serve ourselves a glass of water or have a bottle of water. And so it's something that, these are some of the big issues that we looked at as we were trying to figure out kind of our place in this world and how we can make a difference and how we can open our minds up to what's going on around the world. So the next part of the presentation, we're going to talk a little bit just about the how, like how we can get ourselves connected or get our students maybe more aware, more concerned of problems around the world and how we can make a positive impact and difference. The first thing we always start with is asking questions. So we ask our students those questions, what would you like to see different, or what kind of changes would you like to see in your world? We often start with our own community and asking those questions at our school, starting small and then getting big. So we might not start with a major global issue, but we see at school the recycling or small like issue close to many of my students' hearts, just that there was way too much bullying happening at our school. And they brought that to a larger global scale by getting connected with other classrooms and talking about that to see what's happening around the world. So we start with our own community, but then we want to move beyond that. There's some great online tools to help us move beyond our own community as we are looking to ask teachers about your PLN. Who's in your learning circle and what connections are you making? Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's the teacher who often has to, take those first steps to really start making connections and making those, making that difference for your students. And then your students will often follow suit once they see that you're also a connected educator. So one of the ways that you can definitely expand your community is with Twitter. I know a lot of us are already using Twitter, and we find it to be a very valuable tool as we want to get connected with teachers and other classrooms around the world. And when we want to talk about these real issues that are happening all over. So if you haven't already, do check out Twitter. And we're going to look today at just who are you following? Who could your class follow? I would love to hear some feedback if anyone listening today does have a class account or does use Twitter.
Dominique, I put the question in the chat, so maybe we'll have a couple of volunteers.
Personal, professional. Go ahead, Lisa.
I said I put the question in the chat.
Okay, let me see if I can find that.
I'll let you know if there's any responses. I'll share them out.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Lisa. All right, so moving on. Another awesome tool that is at our fingertips and has a lot of resources if we're just getting started and we're trying to figure out how to start making these global connections and helping our students become more aware of our communities is actually using Google Plus Communities. And you can see there on the screen, there's just a screenshot of some of the different communities that I found to be super helpful as I have been making globally minded students a goal of mine over the last few years. And one I would really like to point out today is, let me see here. Let me see, is actually this one called Connected Classrooms Workshop. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at that in a minute. If you are, if you're unaware of how to find a community, I'm going to jump out of the presentation for a minute, and you can just open up a new tab or go to the menu there. Oh, I didn't do that right. Plus, sorry, it's plus.google.com. Okay. Or you can go to your little apps and you can find it there. But I want you to search over here on the left-hand side. You're going to see your menu, and if you click on communities, you're going to see different communities that you're involved in. And the one I was pointing out is called Connected Classrooms Workshop. So if you're not already a member, I highly encourage you to join. There's close to 24,000 members right now. It's a very active community in Google+. And within this community, there's a lot of different opportunities to get connected with other teachers and other students around the world. And so if you're looking to make specific global connections with a certain part of the world, if you have a certain topic of interest that you would like to maybe study more in depth, this is a great place to start looking for that. You can see here as I'm scrolling down, there's a lot of different fun activities happening. Okay, this was actually, there was a Skype call, I guess, with a class in Mexico. Okay, a little photo from that. This is a teacher who's asking to get connected with a class in South Africa. And what's awesome, you can see there's already 4 comments down here below. So it looks like Oh, there they go. Okay, so they got connected. So this is a great place if you're wanting to find someone. Just go ahead and be brave and share maybe what your project is or what you're looking for. And whether it's related to one of those like global issues we talked about at the beginning, you know, clean water or maybe pollution, you could also like search by theme and you can definitely reach out to people in this community. So that's an awesome place to get connected. And if you're interested perhaps in creating your own community, you can also do that. Google Plus communities, you can make them public or private, depending on what you're looking for. And maybe you have a specific theme or your students are working on a certain project this year. You can definitely make your own community and get connected and invite people to your community as well. Another one that is a great place to get connected is called Collaborating with Classrooms Around the World. This is one, the screenshot is a bit outdated, but this is one that I created a few years back as I was kind of starting and just digging into what it means to be a globally minded classroom or a globally connected classroom. And so this one is another place that teachers are also searching for other teachers or educators to get connected with. There's the Connected Classrooms Workshop. And then through that, once you start making some of your connections on whether it be via Twitter or Google Plus communities, are a great way to get connected, okay? A great way to use to talk with other, I guess, classes or students or teachers around the world as you're trying to investigate and dig a little bit deeper. Some easy ways to get started if you've never done like a hangout with another class or another teacher is mystery calls. Those are a lot of fun. It's kind of like 20 questions, but it's based on geography. So you try to guess where the other classroom and the other teacher and students are. It's honestly fun for all ages. You can, you know, simplify it. Maybe if you teach younger grades. I know that in upper elementary and middle school, this was a hit whenever we did a mystery call. Comparison. So maybe you're looking at a specific part of the world and you're interested in comparing your life to their life. We had a lot of fun doing this with a class in Kenya, actually. And because of the time difference, it was very difficult for my students in Mexico to connect with the students in Kenya. So what we decided to do was we would take videos of our school or of maybe different streets in Guadalajara that, you know, the students that were interesting, or different like statues or historical places and stuff like that. And we would just send videos back and forth due to the time difference. And that was a lot of fun because the students still got to, you know, ask questions that you can't really ask to a textbook necessarily. So it was a fun way to get connected. You can also do some expert interviews. You can search maybe for teachers or musicians or authors, park rangers, depending on what you're looking for, who might be willing to be a guest speaker. A lot of times it's hard, depending on where you're located, to get, you know, guest speakers to come physically into your classroom. So this is a great way to invite people just by doing a quick hangout with them. We were able to do that with a teacher in Brazil who shared about his life in Brazil with my students as we were studying Brazil. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we weren't necessarily talking to students in Brazil, but the teacher proved to be an expert and was able to do an interview with us online. So here's actually an example, and Lisa, I'm gonna try to play this if you can just confirm that the audio works. But this is an example of a mystery call.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
A different class, and we try to guess where they are.
You're in Europe? Do you live in the northern hemisphere?
Yeah.
Are you in Mexico?
What do you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Do you live in the United States?
Yeah. Do you live in the United States? Are you in Mexico City?
Are we in Mexico City?
No.
Are you in Texas?
Yes.
It was really fun because first we were kind of confusing because they spoke English and that, but at the end we guessed they were in Dallas.
All right, so hopefully you guys were able to see just the excitement there of the students as we were guessing where the other class was. And we were able to do this several times to kind of launch different units depending on what we were studying. And so this could be like a one-stop shop where you just do a mystery call once, or you could actually turn that into a year-long unit or study depending on what you're doing. But it's really fun. And to find some of these mystery call connections, there's actually a couple different Google Plus communities that I'd like to point out to you. So if you go back to your communities, I don't know if you still have that tab open, but there is one called Mystery Hangouts here. So if I go over here to communities and I can search communities, so let's just do mystery hangout. Let's see if I do that. Okay, and you should find, because I know that there's a few communities and I believe I'm a part of them, but there's one that's definitely called Mystery Hangouts. There's another one that's called Mystery Calls. And in these communities, there's teachers who are just posting things nonstop looking for people to get connected. Another place to find that is if you go to Twitter, you can search for the hashtag mystery Skype, actually. And that's a popular hashtag. And you're going to see here that teachers are often posting requests to get connected. To do something like that in your classroom, you could search in communities, or you can also just search here on Twitter using that hashtag mystery Skype or mystery calls, and you should be able to find some fun connections. All right, so let's jump back over here. This is just a quick example of what it was like when we did call that teacher from Brazil, just to give you an idea. With this call, this is something that the students had generated a list of questions before we actually had this live call. So the teacher was ready and prepared and knew what, at this time, what my fourth graders were wanting to ask and know about Brazil.
What is the most typical food in Brazil?
Picadillo.
Alright. So there are basically some foods like barbecue, seafood, and a kind of bean that we prepare with pieces of meat and bacon. And it is called, in Portuguese, feijoada. It's a kind of bean, right? And we prepare with pieces of meat and bacon. So, so we eat with rice and salad.
Okay, Sarah, introduce yourself and
Oh,
you can ask it.
my name is Fernanda.
Hello, Fernanda.
Hello. What are the most popular sports there?
Okay, so the main sport.
What did you think about Skyping with the Brazil teacher?
I really liked it because I met a new person and he taught us a lot.
How does Skype work?
Like, it's like a camera. With a camera, you see him and you see you. And you can talk with him.
Yeah. Would you like to talk to more people from Brazil?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that was just a quick example of what it looks like. You can definitely see that the students get super excited. That was one of the first calls we did quite a few years back there. But you can see that and a lot of motivation in the classroom. So it's a really fun way to get connected. And actually, I'm going to just jump ahead for a minute. We're going to look at how I was able to find that teacher. So there are quite a few great tools on Skype in education, actually. So if you've never checked it out, and that you just go look at it, and you can just, it's education.microsoft.com. And if you already have a Skype account, you can use your personal account or you can create a new one, it's up to you. But there's a lot of teacher resources on there, and you can look for specific connections. So that's another really great tool. So we've looked at Twitter, we've looked at Google Plus Communities, and then also just Skype and Education. There's a lot of great stuff on there. And Lisa has said that there's several questions about Twitter. I don't know if I can answer any live.
Sure. I mean, really, the question is, should they get their students involved in Twitter, or should they have a class account, or just for them to get an account? Like, what is your suggestion for global collaborations in Twitter?
Okay, no, those are great questions. Personally, I use Twitter as a professional learning network, and so when I'm using Twitter myself, this is my account that we're looking at right now, and I was looking for Mystery Skype there. I only tweet things professionally, and I would be looking for specific connections with teachers there. So you can see, for example, if you look at EdTech team, or if you follow us, there's a lot of great resources here, and this is something that as a teacher that I use all the time. My students, we did have a class account that isn't super active anymore, but we did use it for a while. And with my class account, what I would do is I would allow at the time I was teaching 4th grade, and so I would allow my students to practice writing tweets. It was really good practice to summarize what we were doing in the classroom, for example. Show you what that looked like. So I would let them practice writing the account, but I never gave them full access to the account. I was always overseeing everything that was tweeted, but it was a fun way for the class to have an account, because that time, as we were sharing different things of what we were doing in the classroom, it was a really easy way for parents to be aware of what was happening. And it was a really great opportunity for me as a teacher to model digital citizenship, as we were very careful about what we were tweeting. I don't know if that answered questions, but please, if you have more, just keep asking them, and I'd love to continue answering them. So yeah, I use Twitter all the time. Personally, I would make the connections first, and then I would allow the students to see what we were tweeting as a class. So you can see these are some of the things the students wanted to tweet. Okay, when we were doing some stuff with the maker movement and creating bridges out of popsicle sticks. We were doing some coding online and playing different games. So like this kind of stuff that we were doing in the classroom, I let the students choose what they wanted to tweet, and we were able to share that with parents and the larger community of the school. Okay, I don't know if there's any other questions on that. I can share the slide deck with you, so I'll go ahead and as soon as we're finished here, I'll make the slide deck available if you'd like to look at this again and maybe look more in depth. We just have a few minutes left here. So another thing I can show you guys. You might be a little wary or unsure of how to start making these connections using perhaps Google Plus Communities. So this is just a quick 50-second video that shows you you're able to do 5 different Google Hangouts in one day in that community I mentioned earlier called Connected Classrooms. Okay, and you can see here that this video is from a couple years ago. There were only 14,000 members. Now there's 23,000. So you can see it's definitely growing, and it's a great way to get connected. So this is just a quick 50-second like instructional video. So you can see there, I just said I was a 6th grade social studies teacher in Guadalajara, Mexico. We were studying North America, and I inserted a Google form with 5 different sign-up times. And so I had 5 teachers sign up within a couple hours, and that 5 days later, we had 5 different Google Hangouts with the 5 different classes I was teaching that day. All right, so that's that's how, when I'm saying that, you can easily make those connections. If you're willing to be brave and just make a request or put it out there, talk about what you're doing in your classroom, and willing to connect with you. So those are just some different tools for you guys today. I hope this has been helpful. I can share this doc. This is a document that Wendy Gorton, one of our colleagues at EdTech team, shared 4 years ago with me, and it's a document that's traveled around the world, and there's teachers from all over doing all sorts of awesome projects on here with their contact info. So I'll include this link in the presentation once I share that with you when we're off the call. And it's a great way to also look for maybe more targeted projects or teachers. So I just want to challenge everybody today to use some new tools and really think about how you're going to make globally minded students through the connections you already have or the connections that you'll hopefully start making. If you're interested in learning more about this topic of globally minded students or global collaboration or connections, this is definitely my passion, and I love working with EdTech team. We do have an online teacher leader certificate, and we have an online cohort. There's one starting in January in one of our 6 courses. You can get 6 graduate credits through this. It's 6 different courses, 2 weeks at a time, so it's 12 weeks in total. And if you look here, let me see if I can get back to the site. If not, here we are, EdTech Team Online. I just wanted to show you that the very first course of the Teacher Leader Certificate is actually all about global collaboration and community. So if this is something you feel like you're passionate about or want to learn more about, I highly recommend you check out our online course. It goes much more in depth than a 30-minute session. But thank you so much. I don't know if there's other questions, Lisa, before we close up.
No, it's just amazing. There are people watching this from all over the world. India, Egypt, so many of the United States, the UK, Mexico. It's just really amazing, and maybe they want to connect to each other in the chat.
Oh, awesome. I would love to see that. It'd be so great to get connections, yeah, through the chat today. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. This will be available, right, if you need to see it later, Lisa?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everyone so much. I hope this was helpful, and I'll make that slide deck available for you guys.